Hey everyone, so we've covered the origins of Brother Voodoo and the history of how he became a superhero. Now we're going to cover some of his early adventures with the likes of Spider-Man, a descendant of Dracula, and a werewolf. Enjoy! Before we get into things any further, be sure to subscribe to Comic Island for more videos on comics, new and old. Now established and comfortable as a new superhero, Brother Voodoo began branching out from his childhood home of Haiti and current residence in New Orleans. While tracking down Aloha, Jericho Drumm found himself traveling across the United States in pursuit of the being, eventually arriving in New York City. The Loa, known as Moondog the Malicious, had been running a hedonistic cult in New Orleans before coming into conflict with Brother Voodoo, whose powers quickly overcame the deadly being. Moondog fled, able to keep the chase going for some time due to his ability to have a powerful influence over others, essentially co-opting the minds of innocent beings. Because of all this, Brother Voodoo had an encounter with another superhero known as Spider-Man, and the two quickly agreed to work together to defeat this villainous being. Though the two worked together respectfully, Spider-Man was unnerved by Brother Voodoo's ability to seemingly appear across the city much faster than the younger hero could possibly web-sling from one place to the next. Nevertheless, the two eventually tracked down Moondog, only for the Loa to let out a powerful laugh which magically put the two men to sleep. Voodoo and Spider-Man woke up, tied to stakes, and were nearly burned to death, were it not for Jericho's power over fire, while Spider-Man was able to cover himself up with his own webbing. Escaping, Brother Voodoo cornered Moondog by having the spirit of his brother Daniel possess one of the Loa's followers. Intent on finishing off Moondog permanently, Jericho flung the Loa off a building, only for Moondog's body to be encircled by a strange light. Seeing this, Spider-Man rescued the villain from certain death, as killing was against Spider-Man's beliefs and moral code. The two heroes were shocked to find the man Spider-Man rescued was Moondog no more, but revealed himself as Wally Bevins, an accountant from New Orleans, who Jericho realized was possessed by Moondog's spirit all along. Jericho was certain the malevolent Loa would eventually return, but when he did, Brother Voodoo swore he would be waiting for him. Returning home, Jericho Drumm was surprised to find Laura Lee Tate visiting not long after, and she wanted to thank the man for his efforts in saving her life earlier from the Black Talon cult. Drumm confided in her that many of the legends surrounding him and his origins were indeed true, including the existence of Daniel's spirit within Jericho's body. The man spoke of his story and history, of how Papa Jumbo taught him much in the art of voodoo. While they talked, Laura Lee's father and chief detective of New Orleans police, Samuel Tate, arrived. Furious to find his daughter there after specifically forbidding her from meeting with the man, in spite of Tate personally witnessing Jericho saving his daughter earlier, a short argument followed between the two men. But Samuel quickly relented, as he came to deliver a letter that was dropped off at the police headquarters earlier, delivered straight from Haiti with a request to be sent straight to Brother Voodoo. Jericho was alarmed to find it a simple letter from a friend of his, Sarah Lejeune, casually stating that the woman's husband had mysteriously returned to life. Drumm immediately knew this was of concern as Sarah's husband died years ago. Returning to Haiti with his loyal servant Bamboo, the two rushed to find Sarah, who had no illusions about the nature of her husband's sudden return, knowing very well she and her daughter were in danger because of it. Sure enough, the man she had once loved had been turned into a dangerous undead being known as a Zuvembies, who attacked the family. In front of their own daughter, Sarah was murdered by her husband while the child was captured. The Zuvembies, and many others, were created by an evil Ungan who called himself Dramabu, the Death Lord, who planned to sacrifice the child to a Loa of death. However, the Loa wouldn't accept a sacrifice from Dramabu's hand, instead requiring it to be done by a more powerful vessel. The voodoo priest turned his attention to the only individual the Death Lord was unable to bring back as a Zuvembies, Papa Jumbo, whose strength and life up until then resisted Dramabu's magic. After much effort, the Death Lord managed to resurrect Papa Jumbo just as Brother Voodoo arrived. Furious at the sight of the man who taught him everything about the art of voodoo corrupted into an undead being, Brother Voodoo attacked, but was nearly overwhelmed by Dramabu's horde of undead. By now, however, Brother Voodoo's powers over fire had grown tremendously. With the Zuvembies destroyed, Brother Voodoo emerged from the flames, only to find Papa Jumbo and Dramabu fled with Sarah's daughter, to a nearby location where they could complete the sacrifice. He found them at the edge of a cliff, prepared to slay the child, but Daniel Drumm's spirit emerged, possessed Papa Jumbo's undead corpse, and saved the girl. In response, more of the Zuvembies were commanded to attack Brother Voodoo, who once again was overwhelmed by their numbers. Fortunately, Daniel's spirit managed to possess Sarah's husband among the Zuvembie horde, briefly restoring his mind. With the assistance of this Zuvembie, Daniel was able to possess Sarah's daughter, and working with Jericho, Drumm was defeated and hurled off a cliff. With the day saved, Jericho and Bamboo took a moment to reflect on these events, noting that this battle taught Jericho he still had a lot to learn from his dead brother, whose spirit seemed to have quite a will and awareness of its own. At this point an expert in the mystical and deadly enemies known as Zuvembies, Brother Voodoo next tracked down a group of them who had been summoned in Brazil, where he rescued a man named Frank Drake, a descendant of the famed vampire Dracula. Daniel possessed Frank, and with his brother Jericho, the two defeated the Zuvembies. Brother Voodoo then informed Drake that through his powers, he learned that Drake's friend, Danny Summers, was responsible for luring the man into the Zuvembie trap. They tracked the man down and confronted him, only for Danny to reveal he had been forced to do this by Dracula himself. With a new lead, Frank vowed to track down the famous vampire, but before he left, Brother Voodoo delivered a stirring speech, encouraging the young man, and, having read his mind, discovered that this person was one of tremendous courage. With that, Jericho bid his new friend farewell, and sent him away with a spell designed to reunite Drake with his friends. Returning home himself, Jericho was next visited by a man named Raymond Coker. Coker became involved in mystical events when his aunt and uncle passed away. Settling their affairs in Haiti, Raymond met a witch woman named Gisela who gave him a disturbing vision and told the man to visit Brother Voodoo for help. Raymond took Jericho to meet with his friends, who were already investigating a prophecy which Gisela was warning Coker of through the vision. As the group discussed this matter, Jericho quietly used his powers to deduce that one among them, Jack Russell, was in fact a werewolf. The group was then forced to fight off a group of attacking Zuvembies, but thanks to Jericho's expertise, he deduced these were not the true examples of the zombie-like beings he had fought before, but rather artificial, magically created constructs resembling them. The attack did lead to the capture of Raymond, and Russell nearly turned into his werewolf self, but Daniel Drumm's spirit was able to enter Russell and calm the man down, returning him to his normal human form. What remained of the group then journeyed to Haiti, battling through more artificial Zuvembies before coming upon the place of their creation, a sinister and mystically empowered place within the island known as the Devil's Grotto. In this strange place they found Raymond Coker transformed into a werewolf, and the villain behind all of this, Dr. Glitterlight, an enemy of Jack Russell and his friends. Drumm sent Daniel's spirit into Glitter Knight's body, but the villain was able to use his command over magical forces to corrupt Daniel's soul, and launched it back at Jericho. Though this stunned the Master of Voodoo, Jericho, Russell, and the rest managed to survive the fray for the most part, though Glitter Knight managed to flee with Jack's friends, Coker and Topaz, into the Devil's Grotto itself. Jack and Jericho followed them in a journey that took them through a realm of space and energies, where the Master of Voodoo and the werewolf encountered the three who were all, beings who tried to warn of the threat Glitter Knight represented, as they themselves battled this being long ago. They told the two men that the key to defeating the villain lied in Jack Russell himself before they continued on, journeying through mystical space towards Jack's captured friends. After a great struggle, where Jack's friend Topaz was even possessed by a demon, Drumm and Russell managed to free Jack's friends and finally defeat Dr. Glitter Knight, saving the day. So that's it for some of Brother Voodoo's earliest adventures, but next up we're going to go through a real milestone when the character first meets Doctor Strange. Tune in for that next time, and thanks for watching.